here, aka Mac, and welcome. We have the new 4.0.1 PTU patch, and boy is it full of fixes. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So, starcitizen 4.0.1 dropped to the PTU on Friday evening. It was around 10 PM here in the UK, and with it brought 107 bug fixes, many of which are blockers or critical bugs, which I will run through some of them here later in the video, but it also brought with it many client, server and hybrid crash fixes, a lot of balance updates to ships and vehicles, and Save Stanton Chapter 2 for testing, which takes place in the Pyro system, and this event will be running throughout the PTU phases in 4.0.1, so most likely the event will go officially live when 4.0.1 goes live as well. Anyway, let us take a look at the patch notes and see what has changed. For features and gameplay, locations specifically, contested zones have had a client performance polish pass, LOD and lighting polish, plus they have removed more geometry that could cause players to get stuck. For the frontier outposts, so I presume the outposts in Pyro, Pyro landing zone inventory list has been updated with all medium and small frontier outposts with added local inventory. There's also an LOD polish pass for the extra small outposts and polish to fix numerous clipping assets and floating loot boxes around outposts as well, which is a big issue that I have seen dotted around the various places in Pyro. And by added local inventory, I assume this means that they have added storage kiosks to these locations so that players can store their items there. Finally, for locations for New Babbage, they have done a lighting, polish and performance pass, and polished the stairs to reduce excessive head bobbing. Now, for AI, the quasi-grazers have had an animation pass, and then for gameplay, they have enabled the handyman missions and added harvestables to Pyro's rocky caves. So these handyman missions are localized jobs that require you to swap out dead fuses, so those relay nodes that we have seen in ships and at locations. I'm not sure if there are any other type of handyman missions at this time coming in with 4.0.1, or if it is just this one where you need to go and swap the fuses out. But as we know, the term handyman is more of an umbrella term referring to all missions that are more focused on engineering. So essentially non-combat localized missions requiring players to fix various systems or items found around the various locations of the verse. And once engineering comes along, we should see a lot of expansion for what these missions could involve, with players eventually having to diagnose a component malfunction, either repair it or swap it out for a new one. But to start with, it is likely just swapping these relay nodes in the Pyro system, but again longer term, they want all locations to offer these types of missions. Even main landing zones like Orison, which I believe was one of the first locations to be built with these missions in mind, and should keep players in one location planetside for a much longer duration of time, plus offer more missions without the need of using a ship in many areas. So really excited to see the expansion of these handyman missions, starting with 4.0.1, as they weren't really working in 4.0 preview. Now on to the ships and vehicles updates. For the Starfighter Ion, this has had its laser cannon charge mechanic removed and DPS rebalanced. The Mirai Guardian has had its maneuvering thrusters and retro thrusters health greatly increased. Its cockpit lighting glow in the player's view has been reduced by 90% strength as well, and the elevator entry marker, chaff and countermeasures has had some polish too. For the Anvil Ballista, they have added personal storage, updated the cockpit to match with the personal storage, as well as further polish to the proxies and mesh setup. For the Nomad, this ship has also had personal storage added to its interior hab section. Its geo and mesh has been updated, plus they have fixed further collision that was missing between the hab and cockpit. For the Tumbril Nova Tonk, this also had its personal storage added, and so did the RSI Mantis, that's got personal storage now. Plus they've updated the bed frame for the Mantis, added proxies for storage, and added annunciators to the dashboard. And then for the Aurora, they have removed the rear clamp from its cargo rack to allow for easier loading and unloading, which is good. If you're not aware, if you own an Aurora, you can load standard cargo units into the back of it and removing that clamp will hopefully make it a little easier and less problematic. Finally, they have added annunciators to the Banu Defender, the Jian Scout and Nox, and the Reliant series. And the Mirai Pulse is now available in the in-game shops. And I assume it's both pulses. I don't know as I haven't checked, but I would be very surprised if it is just one and not the other. So very happy to see many ships get their inventory storage. That is a big win and very much needed, plus a lot of ongoing balance, which, again, as always, is going to be continuous all the way up to 1.0 and maybe even a little bit after as well. Now, for weapons and items, it says the Hornet F7C nose turret was added to shops, which, if this means what I think it means, this is something that many of us have been wanting for a long while, being able to add nose guns back on the F7C and not just being limited to the wing mounts. I hope that is the case, as that is a big win. And then for Arena Commander, they have added the Polaris captain seat to crew options when spawning into an Arena Commander multi-crew match. And for Core Tech, they have added Pyro-specific quantum travel music, performed light entity optimizations, and added roguelighting and entity cleanup around Stanton's landing zones. And I presume this means that ships that are left lying around for a very long duration of time around landing zones in Stanton will get culled from the game, like we see in Pyro, as a way of helping performance. Now, for this build, there were also 12 client crashes fixed, 9 server crashes fixed, 2 hybrid service crashes fixed, 2 main thread deadlocks fixed, and a dedicated game server memory corruption fix as well. And as mentioned, there has been 107 bug fixes, including many blockers and critical issues that I think all of us have been at some point experiencing. So for the bug fixes, I won't read all of them, as that would result in an hour-long video, but for some of the heavy hitters that I have noticed, hangars should no longer overlap, players should properly fully stow now, players shouldn't be stuck in prison forever, consuming food and drink should no longer incapacitate a player, although that was a very funny one. I say that because it never actually happened to me. Landing services like refueling and such should now not disappear after a short amount of time once you bring it up in your MobiGlass. Nested vehicles during quantum travel should no longer disappear. This was to do with server meshing and the authority handing it over, but very happy to hear that, as Ariwrath has recently lost his Mirai Pulse. Players should no longer appear to be invisible anymore. That was a desync issue. NPCs will no longer overspawn game-wide. They have fixed the repositioning player issues. Contract rewards will be evenly shared again. Mission objective markers should be visible again for various missions, although there appears to still be a lot of missions that are bugged for various reasons. Dropped NPC weapons should be interactable again. Quite a few other inventory bug fixes as well. Plus, NPCs at locations are not invincible anymore, and oh my goodness, many, many more bug fixes. Now, of course, they will certainly not have gotten every single issue that we are dealing with from 4.0 preview, but this is a lot of bug fixes, hopefully getting it to a place where it becomes far more playable, less of these big issues happening. Again, I will link the patch notes in the description, just keep scrolling down, there is extra posts below the official patch notes post. But I suspect there are many more bug fixes and issues to come, now that Cloud Imperium are back at work and pushing hard to get the persistent universe into a much more playable and stable state. This is the first PTU build for 4.0.1. I suspect we will see quite a few more, hopefully targeting every other main issue and even some of the smaller issues too. Now, in regards to when will 4.0.1 go live, there is no answer to this. Nobody knows, not even CIG, as it simply depends on when Cloud Imperium feel that they have done enough to make 4.0.1 live worthy. Hopefully, we are only talking 2 to 3 weeks at most. I personally think, if I was to completely guess off the top of my head, that they will keep it in the PTU for 2 to 3 weeks and then roll it out to live with this 4.0.1 build, replacing the 3.2.4.3 build on the live servers, so removing that completely, but also at the same time taking down the 4.0 preview build. And as it stands right now, Cloud Imperium have stated officially that they currently do not intend on wiping progress from 4.0 preview to 4.0.1. This could change if they see the need to, but as it stands right now, there is still no wipe coming, as they stated before, and hopefully it doesn't need to. Now, it is great to see so many fixes, with, of course, many more to come, hopefully fixing all of these heavy-hitting bugs, especially the ones stopping players from even getting into the game. Now, personally, I have not had time to jump in and play yet, so do let me know what you have noticed with 4.0.1 if you have been playing. But here is to getting 4.0 playable and stable, improving that quality of life, and setting off in 2025 on the right foot, as outlined in Chris's letter. It will be very interesting to see where Cloud Imperium can get 4.0.1 to in terms of fixing those issues and making it playable, hopefully getting it into a state that will just keep us all wanting to play more, but we will see. With that said, I will be getting on with my latest off-grid in Pyro video, and if you do enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, I stream 3 days a week, being Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 2 and 6 PM GMT. You are all more than welcome. You can either watch me here on YouTube or over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. Make sure you're turning that notification bell on as well for videos and streams if you don't want to miss out. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour. A huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. As always, I cannot do this without you guys, so thank you for the support, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.